What's up everybody, this is Ryan here, and you are watching a video which is basically me just giving a bunch of tips on doing live content. So yesterday I wrapped up episode number 73 of my Livestream Q&A, and having basically done 73 episodes of totally live streamed Q&A and doing a whole bunch of live content where I'm building applications on camera and things like that. I was kind of just reflecting on, today I was reflecting on how far I've come, and in terms of being someone who creates live content, some of the things I used to do poorly, some of the things that I do better now, and I just thought I would do kind of a short-ish video on some general tips for people who might want to do something similar. Now this isn't pertaining always specifically to live content. These are some tips that can help you do recorded content as well. Might make you end up having to do less takes. But yeah, so let's just kind of jump right into it. So this is not going to be scripted or edited since I'm talking about doing live content. So the first tip I have for people, and I'm going to break it down a little bit deeper than this, is there's kind of two different phases that this applies to. So the first phase is just before you're about to go live. It's really, really important that you be comfortable with whatever state you're in when you're going into the show or the recording. So what do I mean by this? If you do regular live recordings, you'll eventually run into a situation where life makes it so that you're not in 100% sort of condition to do a proper live show. So I had situations where I was really trying to be consistent on my Q&A, and I had nights where I was only getting like say 2 hours of sleep because last summer I was working just a really tough job from basically 6 p.m. until 2:30 a.m. and then that was Saturday nights, and then I would live stream Sunday morning, usually at 9 a.m. So I would be getting home usually around 3:15 in the morning, going to bed by 4 a.m., maybe getting 90 minutes to 2 hours of sleep, and then getting up to prepare for the live stream. So that was really quite difficult. And so again, ideally we can prepare for these sorts of things and just make it so that when we do our recordings, we're in a good mood. But the way that I was able to kind of get through those recordings was just to be totally comfortable with the fact that if I'm walking into a live stream or recording and I'm exhausted and X, Y, and Z, I'm just not feeling good, maybe I'm sick, then it's really important to be aware of that and to actually kind of lower the expectations a little bit, to just immediately going into this be like, you know what, I feel like crap right now. It's important that I get this thing done, but I'm just going to have to accept that there's a pretty good chance that this is going to be kind of a bad show. So the general tip is to be comfortable here. Be comfortable with whatever happens before the show, during the show. After the show is when you can start to ruminate on all the things you did poorly, or like hopefully constructively you do it. But before and during a show, your main goal is to be comfortable. Now, these three are kind of linked together, so that kind of leads me into the next one. So what are some strategies for feeling more comfortable in your situation, for dealing with like anxiety and embarrassment and those sorts of things, which at this point I don't really get those a lot anymore. I'm not really naturally a very anxious person, but certainly when I start my live shows now, it's basically just right into it most days. Tip number 2 is that failure has to be funny for you. So again, this kind of can manifest in before the show, and it can manifest after the show. So before the show, something which very early on, I didn't have this happen for long, but early on I kind of had that feeling just maybe like 10 minutes before I was going to hit the go live button, the start streaming button. I would have some negative thoughts like, oh, maybe I'm going to screw this up. What if I screw this up? I don't feel like I prepared enough. Oh, will there be enough questions? Just all those kinds of thoughts. And you can really start to kind of get lost in that cycle. And that's going to really suck when you start recording if you have kind of that anxious tension in. Now, if you are anxious, still number one applies here. Like if you are anxious and you're going to be anxious, generally speaking, before you hit the play button, be comfortable with that. That's okay. But this is kind of a way to deal with the anxiety and kind of create a better mood for you. So what I used to do, and if I have to, I will do this again, is let's say I'm about to do some live content. I'm about to go live, and whatever happens, I can't take it back. In that moment, I will often jokingly, amusingly say to myself, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get my ass kicked. I am going to fail so hard today. And it's kind of like it ties into number 3, but this is kind of like an aggressive way of letting go of the outcome. And what it'll kind of do is if you start to slip up or say something stupid or something like that, it changes the tone of like, oh no, I screwed up, to just like yep, there it is. You just kind of like, people are going to screw up. Because here's the big point in number 2. Everybody fails. Let's think of like Joe Rogan, the most successful podcaster ever. Totally has admitted that he's had some podcasts which he really hates. He's also a comic. Every comic that's made it and been successful has had bad shows. Every YouTuber who has had success has videos they hate. It's just a fact of life that you really can't be funny, articulate, and smart and charismatic and all of those things at all times at once. And the truth of the matter is that nobody is like that all of the time. So it's actually okay to have some failure. Understand that probably about maybe, I don't know what it will be for you, but for me, usually about 1 out of 5 live episodes I don't really like. No, I'm not saying 1 out of 5 are just completely horrible, bomb things out, but they're just not very good. So just understand not every recording you do can be good. It's just not going to be, and it's not the case for anyone. So hopefully that was kind of useful. So letting go of that and just being comfortable with failing. Like, for example, let's say something stupid, or maybe my voice cracks. So in the middle of that voice crack, I could be like, oh no, people are going to be like laughing at me. What do they think about me? Whereas if I'm having fun and I make something fun out of it, when my voice cracks, then I crack into this joke. My mom says I can date girls soon. And so by making a joke out of it, I'm actually enhancing my content by making everyone laugh. And I'm laughing at myself, and I'm totally okay being silly. So failure is funny. Amuse yourself if things go totally wrong. So the last point, and these are all kind of interrelated. It was hard for me to kind of separate them out in a distinct way, but I'm giving like a general overview here. Let go of the outcome. So what does that mean? Basically what it means is when it's time to go, when you hit the play button, you just have to basically accept that for the next however long it is, I usually do 1 hour to 3 hour long shows, which are quite long. You have to, like I said before, you have to just understand a certain percentage of your shows are going to suck. They're either not going to be funny, or they're going to have incorrect information, or something like that. Something technical is going to go wrong. When things start to go wrong, you have to actually just be totally okay with that. So I've had situations where I'm doing like a 30-minute explanation of some technical topic. Like I'm going through dependency injection using Dagger 2. If you're not a programmer, don't worry about that crap. So this happened a couple times. I'd have like a long planned out lesson, or so I thought. And what would happen is I didn't actually plan the lesson totally properly, or some part of it is broken. So I'd be like halfway or 20 minutes into like a 30-minute complicated lesson teaching some topic. and I'd figure out that my demo is like absolutely useless or wrong, or I just can't even proceed. So this is when things really do just go for a complete train wreck. When the train wreck occurs, and it's not something you can just laugh about, my advice at that point is to basically just be totally honest with your audience, to just explain to them, listen, this is what I plan to do. Hopefully some of that information was useful, but I have to be perfectly honest with you folks. My demo has completely screwed up here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to proceed to it. But what we can do is jump straight into Q&A. So I'm just going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. So again, it's going to depend on the format of your show, but I've had to do that about twice, where I plan to do a long sort of explanation or something like that, and it just totally derails. And then you have to be upfront and honest with your audience at that point, because if you just have like I almost swore there, a friggin' panic attack, that's going to go over really poorly. If you if you try to just keep on trucking and just start talking nonsense, that's going to be even worse. That's going to damage your reputation. Like, I'd rather say nothing at all than something stupid or misleading. And if you've already kind of just accepted in all of these different stages that sometimes things go wrong, sometimes they go really horribly wrong, and that's actually okay, that's just a normal thing and we'll just deal with it, then if you really accept those things, then I think it's going to make your live content run a lot smoother. Now, smoother to the extent that you will be okay with what is going on, and because you're okay with that, it will tend to put the audience at ease more often, even when things are going horribly wrong. What you feel, naturally the audience is going to kind of feel. So that's the goal anyways. So hopefully that was kind of useful. I get it, it was kind of a rambly, not very specific video, but I just wanted to share some general thoughts. And that really the key here is you have to be prepared and accept that whatever you're walking into the recording with has to be good enough. Be comfortable with whatever state you're in, even if you feel like shit. Just be like, I'm just going to do my best. Whatever is your best at the time has to be good enough. Sorry. Number 2, when you fail, try to make it funny and amuse yourself. In fact, even go so far as saying to yourself, I'm going to fail hard today, because it's funny. It takes the anxiety, the nerves out of it, you know? Everybody fails sometimes. Chill the hell out. And then lastly, let go of the outcome. When you hit play until the time you hit stop or whatever, stream until you stop stream, you're basically just not going to have a whole lot of control over what's about to go on. So take your hands off the steering wheel. Follow your plan. Don't take me too literally there. Follow whatever plan you're trying to carry out. But just, as you're going through this, I want you to basically become, like Bruce Lee would say, become a doll made of wood. If you haven't practiced enough, you're going to fail. That's okay. If you have practiced enough, you're not going to fail. And you're not going to know until you get there. So try to be comfortable. And once you hit that play button, just roll with whatever happens. So hopefully that random rambling was useful. And do consider hitting the like button down below and subscribing for more content. This has been Ryan. And yeah, we'll catch you in another video. Peace out.